and writing the ordinance to where we give a 1 mile setback from property line. And the reason I say property line, think of a non-participating landowner with pasture land. He's got cattle or whatever out there. Currently, as far as I understand, that tower could go right next to his property. What's that going to do with his livelihood? My point is, the handful, I mean a handful of property owners that are non-participants, that want a setback, give them a little breathing room. How much difference is it going to make? It's not that picture they're sharing. I'm talking non-participating landowners, 1 mile. That's all I ask. And I think that in a North Dakota friendly fashion, we could at least do this. I mean, this division is segregating our communities, and it's really unfortunate. And if I could make a wish that this would go away and we could all live in harmony again, I'd be all in. But it's not. We're going to have to come up with a compromise. And I think the compromise is the segregation. Is to segregate the non-participants and give them a little freedom. That's all I got. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? But allowed or not?
Sure.
Okay, please, I want to make sure, John Nelson, is he a senator or representative?
He's a house member.
House member, okay. When you say you're representing District 14, John Nelson, who was elected to serve the people, has actually submitted a letter in favor of this project to the Eddie County Commissioners.
Okay.
So I just, when you said you were representing District 14, I just wanted to clarify.
I'm elected as district chair for District 14 June.
Okay.
He is not.
But he was elected to serve
As a house
the,
member.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Last one, Cheryl. Did you want to? Okay. Cheryl Ryan.
Well, my name's Cheryl Ryan. I live in Wells County in Harvey. I'm asking that you give, well, first off, you as a committee is going to give a recommendation to the commissioners. Then the commissioners are going to vote however they want to or what they decide for our county. What I'm asking is give the right back to the landowner with mile setback, with a variance. That way it puts this back to the people that they decide. You know, I've learned a lot since the last 2 months that I've even heard about this. And we went and we talked with the gentleman, I think he was sitting over here and then he walked out in New Rockford. He told us there was no subsidies involved in this. Then a little while later we had another gentleman from PRC talk, and yes, we are having subsidies. And then the next time we had Wells talk, and we heard a little bit different story. Tonight now from the CEO is another, they've got a plan, but it's people are signing up, but is that what it is? When they sign that paper, that's going to be how many that's on their land? Or are they listening to these public hearings and then changing to make it work? That's my big question, is I always hear something different. Today you had a tour. I wasn't on the tour. This was sent to me. I'm told that there's 100 windmills in the area. But this is what the people that live by this is going to have to put up. And then if the wind is coming a certain direction, it can be louder. And if it's the opposite direction, it can be, you know, not as the ones that are gonna have to put up with this. I live in town, but you guys are deciding what that setback's gonna be. And then if the landowner doesn't want, my understanding is eminent domain takes over, and if they wanna do it, it's just like Garrison Diversion when that came through. And look what's happened to Garrison Diversion that comes through. I lived here when that was working, and I just lived south of that, grew up there. So that is my concerns. Also, one other thing, all I hear is, when I went to the New Rockford meeting, was, oh, we'll get money for this, we'll get money for that, and all of this. We're gonna have new jobs. Well, the people that work on these wind towers, where are they gonna live? They're gonna come in New Rockford and they can hear this? I don't know how close it's gonna be to New Rockford, but my guess is, if they're hearing that noise all day long, they don't wanna hear it when they go home at night, to be consistent. All I'm asking is give it back to the landowners. Let them decide. Mile setback with a variance. Variance means that they can do it less if they want to. But it's up to the individual landowner. Thank you.
Yeah, at this point now, does anybody have any comment or question? This is a public hearing, so just because you did not sign up, we only signed you up to keep some structure here. Anybody have any comment, questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Have you done the environmental impact studies for this project yet, or are we gonna have to wait until the project is already in motion?
Who's that question?
I'm looking at you. Yes,
Yes, the environmental studies are underway.
great. Because I'm gonna.
They have been for several years.
Was this with Game and Fish? Because we've talked to Game and Fish, and Game and Fish said nothing has been.
There are dozens of studies, and we've been engaged with Game and Fish since Game and Fish and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife since 2018.
I've got a curiosity question. Does each wind, and you can't speak for other wind farms, but does each wind farm, when it gets developed, have to do an environmental study? Aren't they somewhat redundant, or is it specific to their area? Why would you have to do another one?
Every project needs to do a study. It has to do many studies to explore every kind of bugs. And
Habitat is different in different areas.
habitats,
Okay.
birds, bats, wildlife.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, Stan, just
Oh,
for
man.
clarification on the board, I, just reading the paper, was very sick most of the winter and couldn't attend meetings. But I have thought the zoning commission had approved and voted unanimously on this issue with a 1 mile setback. Is that not true?
We recommended that.
Okay, so what are we doing tonight?
I have to repeat myself again, I guess. It went to the commission. The commission felt that that particular zoning board meeting was somewhat one-sided. We didn't hear of absolutely anybody at that meeting for the wind project, except for one individual who represented the wind farm at that time and felt that that hearing was not objective in nature.
Okay.
So that's why we sent it back, and here we are again.
I got a question
You go.
to him.
He's looking at you.
How many years does it take to pay for a wind mill? In North Dakota, I'm talking about North Dakota, because we have very few of them.
Because we have very, what?
We have very few windmills out here in North Dakota. We're rural compared to other states. How many years does it take to pay for one?
What do you mean pay for it?
Pay for the wind turbine. How many years does it take to pay?
Well, they're financed and built, and then the fuel is free. And the income from selling the power pays for all the maintenance and repays the debt to build it.
Okay.
So
your
the
whole
So you're asking like,
The financial
How
closing
many years
occurs.
does it pay for one?
what
Do your
year
homework.
is
The
break
rumor
even?
is, what I found out, the rumor is it takes 30 years to pay for one.
No,
33 years.
you're saying that the debt is 30-year debt?
Nope, pay for one of those. To get the profit out of one of those,
That's
33
not correct.
years.
I will say debt is typically 10 years to 15 maximum would be on a project.
But they're only good for 15 to 20 years possibly.
Yeah. You gotta restructure them every 10 years.
No, we do not. Projects operate 20 years and beyond. 20 to 30 years is a
Maybe.
typical design
Maybe.
operation.
That's not what I was told.
It's typical, 20 to 30.
So what happens?
okay, let's try to keep the information factual here, okay? There was a wind farm in Langdon today, it's been going on 21 years, so, and it hasn't been repaired.
Yes, it has. I was at that meeting today, Stan. I was up there and they said after 20 years, they had to redo it.
But he just said it after 10.
Well, it's different variances with different towers. He isn't wrong. There have been towers that have to be redone after 10 years.
Yes.
And we're not even hearing exactly which tower we're getting here, so that information's gonna change too.
Well, what happens, so at different times, they'll go 20 plus years, but if there's a new, either new blade, something new within the nacelle that can make it worth the while to do different, we call them, we'll put new parts.
Rephasing, right?
Absolutely, you might have something,
That's what Langdon
you
did.
bring in new parts, but that, they absolutely go 10 years. You might have a repair here and there, just like any mechanical device, but the project itself, you have 20, 30, project for 30, but they might replace things if they find something that now works better. Replace parts of the cell, might do new blades, it might do something that makes sense to do it economically.
The power has to be replaced, is what I understood, every 10 years.
That's not true.
Because of the upgrades.
That's not true.
Upgrades.
No, if they find something that's economically good to do, they'll do that, but it's just not correct.
That's my truth.
Anybody else? Jeff?
Stan, what do you think your timeline might be? I mean, you guys ruled on 2 out of the 3 recommendations from the zoning. What do you think your timeline on the commissioners might be? You have the privilege of serving on both. What's your timeline? The June meeting was chosen.
You know, I've
not to
been
vote on.
talking a lot. Boone, what do you think? I'm putting him on the spot.
Well,
You know,
we can bring that motion back around. Right, Bob?
Question,
We can bring that back around.
this is for Stan. Is this the ordinance that John has sent out to us? This is what we're going to be voting on to send to the commissioners, correct?
correct.
Okay, and that's,
Assuming no one modifies it.
well, no, these are just questions that I have when we start going through. But the 1 mile setback is in here, so we won't be voting directly on the 1 mile, we'll be voting to.
On this complete,
Yeah, on
yes.
this. Okay.
Because here's the biggest thing, I think the biggest thing that our former zoning did not have was decommission language, whereas Burley County does. And the state does. The state really, Burley County really followed the state in a large degree. The state has something.
Okay, my question also, I understand where we're at. This is the document that we would be voting on that would get sent to the commission.
Correct. This is what this hearing is about, is this particular document this evening.
I have a question for Jean. You asked us about, you know, property rights and where they stand. Do you feel like a mile is too much or too little?
I feel it's too much.
What would be, in your idea, what would be appropriate?
I think a half mile setback would be more than appropriate.
You know, and for people's information, and correct me if I'm wrong, the state used to be 1,200 feet. Wells County's was 1,200 feet. The towers have gotten larger and bigger, and the state recently went to 1,700 feet. Or 1,800, I'm sorry. So they did increase it because of the size of the tower, and, you know, people were given ratios there. That has occurred as